I'll call on Hilda Degnan and Claire Early from Autism Parents Athlone in County Westmeath.
How are you there? I'm Hilda Degnan and this is Claire Early, and we are representing the Autism Parents Athlone. Back in February of 2022, Claire, beside me here, set up a Facebook group, Autism Parents Athlone, with the intention of, I suppose, making Athlone a more autism-friendly town. And little did we know, after Claire asked me to come on board with the group, which I was delighted about, little did we know that we would become basically local advocates for so many families in the town in terms of school place, helping to get school places set up. Currently in the town there is 4 secondary schools. Up to last week, only one of those secondary schools had 2 classes for children with autism, and they were subscribed right up for the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years, no place coming available until 2025, I believe, in that school. And just last week, we were delighted that the Community College in Athlone did open their special class, which was due to open September 2022, but due to red tape and more paperwork, as everybody's talking about, why does it take so long? In June of 2022, 12 children had no school place for September in Athlone. They were being offered places in Ballymahon, Glenamaddy, 50-kilometre trips each way. As Laura mentioned, the journeys are just too long for our children. And siblings are being separated. Parents are having to give up employment because they have to be there for their children who can't attend school. Last week, the school places opened for 6 of those children. There are 6 more who are in inappropriate school positions. They've accepted places rather than not have places, whether they're appropriate for them or not. Obviously, we're very grateful to see the places opening, but we're not done with one. More places need to be opened in both primary and secondary schools around Athlone for children with autism. My own story, I'm a mother of 4 children. My younger 2 are 6 and 4, both with diagnosis of autism, both extremely different presentation, and both had very different journeys to being diagnosed, even though there are only 22 months between them in age. My first child to be diagnosed is Edie, she's 6. She was accepted by the early intervention team in Roscommon in February of 2019. A very, very straightforward process for us, thankfully, as our first outing in the autism world. We had a wonderful intervention nurse come to us every second week to help us with play practice for our daughter, observe her in the home, make recommendations, and then take on board our concerns, which she brought back to our multidisciplinary team in Roscommon. We were forward for ADOS assessment and diagnosed by August of 2019. That was it. She received no services since then. We were fortunate to be able to avail of the home tuition grant. We had a fabulous tutor. She then went into an early intervention preschool class, which just opened in time for her age group to participate in. But she has never had formal speech and language. She's what we would call verbal but not conversational, and only in the last 18 months or so we could say that. Other than that, she would have been considered non or pre-verbal. She has never had any OT therapies that we didn't pay for. She has never had any psychology since her initial diagnosis. Our son is 4 since November. He was accepted by the same early intervention team May of 2021. But he was never seen by them because the transition to CDNT happened November of 2021, and then the therapists were just not there. We ended up having to go for a private diagnosis for our son. It cost us €1,500 and 2 trips from Athlone to Limerick and back, again having to try and make arrangements for our other 3 children, one of whom, remember, also has autism, so that we could both be there for our son's assessment. We accessed that assessment and diagnosis so that he could avail of the same early intervention preschool class that our daughter had access to. And our daughter is now in junior infants in an autism class attached to mainstream school, but it's not the same school she attended early intervention. So I have 4 children in schools in 3 different counties. How is that right in 2023? My 6-year-old daughter is collected at 9 a.m. from my home. She travels to Ballinasloe in County Galway. It's not a very long journey, it's 20 minutes, but she's in Ballinasloe, County Galway for her school. My 4-year-old son is collected at 8:30 in the morning from my house. In order to pick up 6 other children, it takes 45 minutes to do 16-kilometre journey to his school if I was to take him door to door on the bus. He's on the bus for 45 minutes each way because they collect children all around the town. He's 4. He's exhausted by the time he gets to school. Oftentimes he falls asleep on the way to school or on the way home from school, and that impacts his night's sleep, which is pretty poor anyway, as a lot of parents will identify with when it comes to autistic children. His school is in Athlone, County Westmeath. And I have 7 and 8-year-old son and daughter who attend our local primary school 3.5 kilometres from our house. They could practically walk. So they are in Drum, County Roscommon. So I am dealing with teachers, principals, public health in 3 different counties for my children. Thankfully, they do get school buses because it is just, I can't even imagine trying to travel a 32-kilometre round trip every single day, which I did do up until their buses were granted after the COVID-19 crisis. Of course, everything was delayed and there were no bus services for the children. The other area that Claire and I are involved in is in social inclusion for children with autism, and we have set up the Infinity Friends Autism Social Clubs. We started in September 2022 with 10 children, and we now have 5 clubs. So we have service for 50 families now at the moment in Athlone since September of last year. And it's now not only become social club for the children, it has evolved and developed into social club for the parents, because every single one of these parents in this room could be a member of our club. We have met you all before and you have met us all before, and I'm just echoing so many stories. There are every single story that I've heard so far this morning I could pull from either my own experience or the experience of the people that we meet every week in our club. I'm going to hand you over to Claire now.
Hi everybody, I'm Claire Early of Autism Parents Athlone. Just on my own personal story, my daughter Sophia is 9 years old. She was diagnosed at 2.5, had all the early intervention, went to an early intervention class. Sophia has never had the same teacher for a full year of school. So early intervention kind of went out the window in regards to helping her. We were talking about integrating into mainstream pre-COVID, and now we're on reduced hours. Sophia regressed an awful lot during COVID, during the lockdowns, as I'm sure most children did, but we noticed traits of ADHD during lockdowns, and we queried with our teams, and of course it was the upheaval of the CDNT teams being developed. We were seen last August by Sophia's psychologist, and she recommended we be referred to CAMS and assessed for ADHD. And January 19th, they closed our case without seeing my daughter because there was no clear indication of ADHD in their opinion. And they made that decision without seeing my daughter, Sophia. Our doctor and her psychologist both recommended an ADHD assessment, so 2 medical personnel, practitioners, but yet CAMS turned us down without seeing her. Yes, we're fighting it, we're appealing it, but it seems to be such a common thing. And it's echoed a lot through the parents on the Facebook groups, people looking for help on what to do. And what do you do in something like that, you know, but appeal it and appeal it. Meanwhile, our daughter is struggling, and that's affecting her school. So now she's on reduced hours in school because she just can't cope with her levels of anxiety and her behaviour. Behaviour is a language, in my opinion, so if behaviour is there, there's something happening to cause the behaviour. She's pre-verbal, she can't tell us what's happening in her little head. She can tell us what she wants and what she doesn't want, but conversation-wise, it's a different story. I really feel she's been failed by the system in so many ways. And every parent here just wants support for their children. And that's echoed through our group, Autism Parents Athlone. We fought tirelessly for a new class to open, which thankfully has, but by God, it took them long enough to open it. But now there's a new list. There's more children for this September. And we are now starting first foot on the plate to start fighting for another class, which, fingers crossed, we will have. But if we don't have, that's more children in September who will either have to have an hour bus journey before they even reach school, or they'll be at home for homeschooling, which is just so hard to think of. Families have to give up work just to stay home and bring in tutors, and that's if the tutors turn up. We've had families that have qualified for home tutors, but the tutors don't turn up. Infinity Friends is a place where my heart lies at the moment. It gives the children in Athlone and surrounding areas, we have children from Longford and Mullingar coming over to us as well. It gives them somewhere to be, that they don't have to mask, that they don't have to put on a show for people, they don't have to perform. They can come in and just be themselves. They can take part in activities if they want. They don't have to, there's no pressure put on them. But to see the parents just come in and take that deep breath and sigh and say, you know, they can be themselves here, there's no judgment here. The HSE are sending families to us. They're coming to us saying, our team has told us to ring you, that it's somewhere for our children to go. We're doing this on a volunteer basis. I work full-time for An Post. I haven't got any more fuel in the tank to provide more and more clubs for more and more children, but it absolutely kills me to turn away children. So we're eating into family time to provide support for more families. And it's heartbreaking to hear the stories of what the children and the families have been through. I'm so thankful today to be here, to be able to voice what we're doing in Athlone, and to be able to hear from all the other parents and advocacy groups around the country. It's an absolute pleasure to be among you, and thank you so much for everything you do.